Hello, entrepreneurs. My name is Cleola Kunene, and I am live this evening. I'm in the hot seat. In fact, I'm here to answer some questions around the capital matching that we've been hosting the past few years. And with me, I have the esteemed CEO, Ntlalo from Boardroom TV, who's going to be asking me all the hot seat questions. So I'm going to hand over to you, and this is your show because I'm in the hot seat this evening.
Yes, thank you so much, Cleola, and welcome to all the viewers out there and the SMEs and the entrepreneurs. Maybe just an overview, Cleola, of the vision behind the Rise SME Capital Matching. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So the vision is actually quite a few years old. It started, I think, 2019, 2020 with the JSE just embarking on how we can support SMEs. And it started with just me leading it. And now we are a very steady team of very passionate people who are focused on supporting SMEs. So we started a few years ago with SME Rise with an accelerator program that focused on growing medium-sized companies. And as you can imagine, we don't have a lot of large enterprises in the country, and we wanted to establish a solution that's going to help fast-track the growth for companies to become large. And then recognize through the work that we were doing that there was a serious gap in terms of access to capital and funding. But more importantly, there was also a gap in funding readiness. So we started developing solutions around that and then launched in 2023 in the Western Cape with the Western Cape government, Department of Economic Development and Tourism. And the first one was really great because we worked with companies in the Western Cape to train them through funding readiness and help them, determine really what it means to get funded. So everything in terms of from funding readiness was everything in terms of their financials to the legal aspect to the market assessment, etc. And then from there, we worked also with Department of Small Business Development, with SETFA, and so many great funders that I can go into. But then we've just expanded from there, province to province. Yeah.
Yes. What would you say is the key challenge with the SMEs? I know Cape Town, you guys made a huge impact there. I think 62% matchmaking with the funding. What was the challenge with some of the SMEs that could not get funding?
So when you look at funding readiness, people think sometimes it's just about knowing, but it's just about financials. We sometimes see that companies can even have a bookkeeper or CFO but not be funding ready. So I think the first challenge, yes, is financials. But it's also not companies knowing what type of funding is out there, what type of funding exists. So if you look at it, the breadth and width of funding, so starting with everything from the type of alternative funding solutions, purchase order financing, invoice discounting, mezzanine type financing, so different debt structures, asset financing, and then looking at the different equity type of structures. And then everybody thinks it's just about grants or things like that. Even then, the different types of funders that are relevant for your business. So we start there. And I think the first gap is funding literacy. And I would call it funding literacy because people don't understand what is relevant for their business or what type of funding exists that is ideal for what they need. The second part is financial literacy in terms of the right type of financial information that funders would want to see. So for instance, a VC would want to see different information from a company that you're just getting purchase order financing from. And then when we talk about sales and marketing, it's not just about your sales and marketing plan. They want to see, for instance, what is your market assessment? Which market is obtainable and which market are you going to go into? How long is it going to take you to grow this market? How much does it cost? And when do we get our returns? What is ARR? What is IRR? So, all those things. So it sounds like a lot of jargon, but one of the things that I even tell a lot of entrepreneurs is you need to understand even the language of money so that you can explain to yourself and to a funder where your business is going.
Vision,
yes, and understand how you make money, but also at which point do they get their money back and at what rate, right? So I think the financial literacy part is a big aspect. And then lastly, there are some challenges around things such as tax. Not all funders require that you are tax compliant, but some funders do. And we see a lot of companies struggle with that as well.
Yes, and talk to us also about some of the successes of this program from the time you guys started in 2023, right? Yeah, just take us through those aha moments, interacting with the entrepreneurs out there, the grassroots, some of the successes of this program.
I think, we can talk about successes in three parts. The first is that we managed to get such an amazing community of funders on board and government entities to support it. The funders coming on board to the capital matching, just to give context, we bring different funders together to come in and participate and meet with SMEs. So not just one type of funder, so that we have a mix of funding options. So from the beginning, I think the success was being able to get so many funders to come and support the program and the initiative. And government entities, NEF, CETFA, IDC, etc. Right? Some of the private capital funders we've had African Bank, we've had ABSA on board, we've had Equate on board, we've had Creative Capital, we've had so many amazing funders that have come to the party in the past, and that rhythm Altvest as well has continued, right? So I think that's the first part, is just the support from the community, right? The second is seeing companies really learn funding readiness. So the funding readiness training has been free. We first started it as just live masterclasses. Then we developed a digital training solution. So any company can go right now and do the training for free today. They can go, it's online, and we've compressed that in a manner that is easily to go through and learn. And then we support it with live masterclasses. And I think the live masterclasses then give companies an opportunity to ask questions and go through their own scenarios. And even then, we've had so many amazing experts, such as legal experts, business strategy experts that have come on board and really helped to explain things to companies. So I think the success criteria has been, one, seeing the community come on board. Secondly, seeing really funders partner and support, but then companies genuinely learning from the funding readiness. And whether they decide to go through the capital matching event day or not, we've seen some companies learn from the funding readiness and then go source funding themselves somewhere else. We've even seen companies then go source funding internationally, because now they are, I would say, it's kind of like you've been trained, you've been equipped, and now you can run the race with or without us. And then lastly, of course, I think apart from that is also just having the capital matching initiatives and seeing it scale from province to province. We started in the Western Cape, and then last year we went back to the Western Cape, but then we expanded into the Eastern Cape. The Eastern Cape Economic Development Department came on board, and then we also went into Free State and they came on board. And just seeing that those partnerships work and the amount of companies that we were able to match and support was phenomenal. And I must say, I was really blown away by the amazing companies that we met. People always have a perception like, oh, maybe there aren't great companies in the Free State, or, there aren't great companies.
That was my next question.
Yes.
Also, how the different provinces, the entrepreneurs, because, we look at Gauteng with the most access and so forth. Yeah. How the other provinces are doing as far as entrepreneurship.
Yes. So I think the provinces, and like I said, they were amazing companies that we met, and Eastern Cape was amazing. I mean, we've made companies there. For instance, I'll give some examples. One of the companies we met made medical devices, a husband and wife team, Black-owned medical manufacturing company. Listen, phenomenal. In the Free State, we met a company that was making coffee from butternut, right? Even exporting into Namibia. We have worked with amazing companies. One of the companies I saw now actually on News 24 that we had in our first capital matching in 2023, Kaya Licha Cookies. They were in our first capital matching in 2023. Now I'm seeing them on the news and they've grown exceptionally. I'm just blown away by what's happening and by the success of the company. So this year, yes, we're in Gauteng and we're going to be in Limpopo, and we're back doing a roadshow in the Western Cape, but we've adjusted some of it a little bit. But there are amazing companies, and once you really are out there working with the companies, supporting them, and we're not just talking about big companies, we're talking about small companies, but also companies that do everyday things. We've had companies with restaurants, companies that are audiovisual companies that do, the equipment for events and things like that. We've had companies that do clothing or skincare brands. The diversity is just amazing as well.
Also, for entrepreneurs, just take note also to interact with the JSE website and go through some of the trainings there. It's free to do that. And I think also to note again, when you say some companies just ran with the experience and the exposure and they went out there and did the work and applied the knowledge they got from you guys. And then about the other provinces, is there a plan also to even neighboring countries? Any plans like that?
So our focus right now is South Africa. There's a lot of support that we need. Like we said, in November, we will host the capital matching in Limpopo and Gauteng here at the JSE. But right now we're doing road shows. On Friday, we're going to be in Soweto. And we already have 200 companies that have registered. They come to the Soweto workshop. We're very excited about that. And of course, yes, we want to go into other provinces. But I think what's been really nice when we do this, and I'll go back to what we, for instance, did in the Eastern Cape. I mean, we had funders that weren't there and had deal makers go there with us, right? We had companies that went through the process and they are so professional. The companies, they come with their pictures, you know what I mean? They come and present, and we don't do it like Shark Tank style. I must say the capital matching is done very sophisticated. It's closed cubicles, and you as an entrepreneur, you get the opportunity to meet one-on-one with deal makers, and you get to present your company and talk about your business and your needs. Right. And on average, a company would meet 3 or 4 different funders in one day. Imagine you would have gone through how many months to try and meet those people. And now we're bringing them to you. One of the entrepreneurs actually said he actually feels like he was on like 4 amazing dates, because usually he's the one knocking on doors, and now he was just there, and they were genuinely interested in his company and wanted to know how they can fund his business, and he did get funding. For instance, I know now we've done a tally in the Eastern Cape. We had 44 million rand that was allocated already to entrepreneurs. That was money that wouldn't have been there before, and now companies have received funding, and similarly in other provinces. And we're hoping that now that we're going into, especially like Limpopo, that we're going to see a significant participation from entrepreneurs coming, and especially in Gauteng as well. But remember, even the work that we're doing is national, right? So any company that wants to participate, especially in the funding readiness and other capital matching solutions, can definitely participate.
Yes, I mean, they can travel. It's only here in South Africa. And compared to the access that you get and that exposure and knowledge from experts is definitely worth the travel. Also, the funders may be watching. How can they engage, and what particular businesses or sectors are you guys prioritizing?
So yes, we definitely are still bringing funders on board. We have some funders already, and we've got some amazing companies this year that are going to partner with us. So when a funder wants to participate, we look at a few things. We look at whether the mandates are aligned in terms of what we're trying to do, because a big focus for us is not just the funding. We're also looking at trying to ensure that the companies are sustainable. Right. So we want funders, so we want funders also to have the same vision and goals and alignment, that when they come on board and participate with us, the goal is, yes, to support the entrepreneurs, ensure that we can fast track funding, that they do have capital available in different forms, because we also don't want too much of just one type of funding. We want diverse funding. We even bring on board ESD, funding and ESD partnerships. So if in any ESD organizations or stakeholders want to participate, they're welcome to reach out to us. Because we also look at how we can bring in other solutions. And there's an exciting piece this year that we're also bringing in service matching. So we'll have Vodacom on board, and Access Bank, etc. So we're also bringing in other things to try and make sure that we
flexible,
yes, and make sure that it's very impactful. But one thing I must say about the funders and what I've seen in the past is that the funders that are really sustainable and doing and getting great funding from this are the funders that are very fast and they make a concerted effort. I'll say, for instance, we've seen this even for instance, Business Partners, Altface, African Bank that we've had in the past. Yes, they were very fast, and even like the next day after the capital matching, they'll be going to company sites and visiting their premises and speaking to the guys. So I think it benefits both. It's not just that it benefits the entrepreneurs, it also benefits the funders, because then they get to meet businesses that they wouldn't have otherwise have had the opportunity to meet and engage with and really have the opportunity to fund those businesses. So yeah, we are doing a lot of work, and we'll be doing a lot of road shows leading up to the events, to make sure we educate and we help and we get as many companies on board as possible to ensure that they get funded.
Yes. At this point, what are you most excited about with this program? Because it's a lot of impact, and I can imagine also the young people out there, because we have I would say big numbers of unemployed youth and so forth. So I think for other companies also to follow suit, this is a good example. What are you most excited about going forward with this program?
I think what excites me most is what I see happen to companies once they start engaging with us, because they think it's just about funding. But once you start looking at your business the way a funder would look at it, whether somebody would invest in it, and we start asking those questions and guiding you strategically, we see companies also think of their businesses in that way, and they pivot very quickly, right? Because imagine if I say to you, your business could potentially be the next Uber, and I give you that strategic and this is what it could be worth. You start thinking of your company differently. So what we see is not just companies get access to funding, but what we see is that entrepreneurs themselves start thinking about their businesses in a different way. And also they start thinking of the financial model and how their businesses make money, how their businesses scale, which markets they go into. Because once you start speaking about the numbers, it's not just the financials on a spreadsheet. It's about the numbers in terms of how will this business grow and how will it grow sustainably. That excites me every single time, because those businesses, you see them grow very fast after that.
Yeah, and looking at, I know you guys traveled to the US, was it last year? Looking at that, the funding space in the US, where would you say maybe there's still a distance to cover in terms of that space here in SA?
So there's a few things. I think one is that funding in South Africa is still expensive. So we don't have a lot of capital, so getting access to capital is still expensive. Whereas in the US, capital can be very cheap. Second is that we don't have a high risk appetite in South Africa. And whereas in like the US, there is a lot more, because if there's more money, there's more, people have a bigger appetite for risk. So if there's not a lot of money and the money is very expensive, if I'm the one allocating the money, this is all I have, and it's costing me a lot to have the money, I have a high, I'm more like, let's see. So there is more of an appetite to take a chance and see, right?
Good point.
Whereas we don't really have that luxury. We have to really, that's why we do funding readiness. We have to get it together and make sure we understand our story, because even if it's DFI, even if it's government funding, for instance, think about it. You get a debt from SETFA. Yes, it's cheaper, but if you can't pay that back, that means the next person can't get funding. So it's so important that they also, even if it's government funding, they have to make sure they give it to someone that can pay that money back. Because if that money doesn't come back, the next entrepreneur doesn't get money, because there's only so much.
It's a good point to explain.
Yes.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes disgruntle that, some of these facilities are not available, but you also depending on the ones before you who did the right thing and multiply the money.
Yes.
That's what it's about. Yeah, and Also, that US market, and maybe are you guys also stretching in terms of bringing those funders from the US also over here? Is there such a lane being built or in the future?
Yes, so we do have that, and we've done so. If you look at, like, for instance, the accelerator program, we've expanded companies into the US and then other countries. This year, there's some challenges with the US, but we are bringing some funders still again in the US. You would remember last year we had the Africa investment diaspora with the US investors that we brought to the JSE. So we will be bringing more international investors, but we are also going to be bringing investors from Saudi Arabia. We are engaging with the Saudi VCs and not just for investment, but for both commercial opportunities and investment. So even companies that want to do business with South African businesses. And more importantly, what I really enjoy is that they are reciprocating and saying, if you have companies that want to expand into Saudi, we will help open those doors.
Yeah.
So we are looking at that. But, I think the US, we kind of maybe take a step back from the US right now because we're not 100% sure about all the opportunities that, based on some of the changes that are happening. But we have gone into other markets. We also have a collaboration with UK SA Tech Hub. So we're also looking at the UK. And then very recently, about a month ago, so we had a session with Business France, where we opened that up to entrepreneurs as well, to say companies that want to do business in France, they can speak to us, and we can definitely leverage that opportunity and help them expand into France as well. So this year, going into next year, we will still potentially have the US, but we definitely will have Saudi, France, and then the UK.
All right. And I think we'll take some questions also from the socials. Cherith is saying she would love to know how we should prepare for matching, what to bring, etc. Any tips on networking at the event itself? Yeah.
I think the most important thing is, and this is one of the things that we cover in funding readiness, is to have your pitch deck ready, because you should be able to talk about your business in 15 to 20 minutes. Right? What your business does, what is the value proposition, what exactly are you looking for, how much money are you looking for, what type of capital are you looking for? Are you looking for debt? Are you looking for equity? Even how long do you need the money for? And more importantly, what do you want to use it for? Right? So I think having those questions ready, having your pitch deck ready is the most important thing. And tips on networking, I think what we do is we match the companies to the funders, but also do your homework about who's going to be there. We'll share that information, but make sure if you want to engage with a specific financier, you want to engage with one of the government entities or some of the other stakeholders that are going to be there on the day, make sure you know, again, what is your ask and what is your offer? What exactly do you need from them? Because that always makes sure that you don't, waste the opportunity. If you have the opportunity, make sure you're very clear about what you want out of that opportunity.
Yes, awesome. And Brian would like to know some of the details about the event Friday in Soweto, where it's taking place.
So the event will be at the Boundless campus in Soweto. If you go onto the Boundless social media site or to their website, or it's also on the JSE social media, you can just follow the link and register. And we will be there. We have on the day, we have a few companies coming through, not just ourselves as the JSE. We will have Altvest is going to be there, Equate will be there, Vodacom will be there, Access Bank will be there, Mercantile Bank will be there. No, not Mercantile, sorry. Merchant Capital will be there, excuse me. Merchant Capital will be there. And yeah, will also have some of the JSE team members and some of the other companies that are also going to stop by and see how it's going on the day, are also going to be there. So there's a lot of engagement and a lot of buzz that's going to be happening. I think we're also going to have some of the media engagement partners that are going to be there on the day as well.
Yes, and how do we select SMEs for pitching opportunities?
So first thing is companies have to register. So they have to go to the capital matching website and register. Secondly, they have to go through the funding readiness training so that we can ensure that they understand what's required. Then we engage with them directly. Based on the type of funding they're looking for, we assess whether they have, that they have everything in place, or we help them get certain documents in place. We do want companies to be as ready as possible, because otherwise, it's just a nice conversation that you have on the day and you're not really going to get funding. So try and make sure that companies actually get funding. We say, okay, if you want, say, for instance, purchase order financing, you actually need to have a purchase order or a letter of intent, right? So it doesn't help to say, I want purchase order financing, I want to come through on the day, but you don't have anything. So those are some of the questions that we will ask to make sure that we can actually get you ready, and then make sure we match you with the right funders. And that's the crux of it, because you're matching with people based on what you need and what you have in place. Yeah.
And maybe also just one piece of advice for those SMEs that are struggling, just maybe a methodology that they can follow to get things going and in the right direction.
Yeah. You would know that the most important thing is first to understand your business, right? Which industry you're in, how you're competing, and what is your proposition. How are you different? What is your value proposition?
Very important.
Very important, because before you can even get money, you need to have clients. So I think the most important thing is to understand your value proposition, your business model, how you are making money, and how you're getting clients. It's much easier to get capital if you have clients, right? And it's so important for any business that wants to scale and wants support to demonstrate that that's what they're doing. One of the things that I also tell businesses is, when they even have conversations with people that are supporting them from a development perspective or from a funding perspective, it's always important to understand their competitive advantage, right? Why you? Why me?
Yeah.
Why my business? And also what they've learned. What have they learned? What have they changed? What have they adapted? Because there's so much that you learn in the journey. So I think the most important thing is understand your business better than anyone else. And because when somebody starts asking you questions about your business, even in terms of how much revenue you're making, it's very difficult to give somebody credibility if they they don't know. Yes. so answer those questions before anyone else asks you this question. You need to know them.
Those dummy pitches, man. At home.
Yes. and yes, and know why not just in terms of, if you've got a tech software business, we're faster. Yes, you could be faster, but why would somebody choose your business versus the next business? Even if it means that you are reliable, you're consistent, and your clients keep coming back, that for me is a better proof point than the most innovative idea.
Yeah. And again, from the socials, Booty Komani, he says, I have developed a golf swing training aid here in SA, but I have already secured a non-provisional patent in USA, which is my biggest market for my golf device, and an MVP available. So I guess he seems to need some kind of advice, but it doesn't say. Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, so an MVP so basically has a prototype, right? So it's very difficult sometimes to get technical funding. But they are technical assistance funding and technical assistance, especially if you've got a trademark on IP, because sometimes the cost is on the trademark itself, right? Or registering the IP specifically, especially in another country. I would say in those specific instances, chat to CSIR, for instance. They've got solutions like that, how to commercialize IP. And there are other options as well.
Yeah. And Mohadi Faith says, it's a pleasure to be a part of this session. I have a quick question. Are there profitability metrics that qualify or disqualify one from the funding process? Yeah.
So not all funders look for profitability. Some funders look at just your revenue. So some funders would look at profitability, some funders won't. Remember, we have different types of funders. Some funders minimum, such as merchant capital, would look for, or retail capital would start at like, under 100,000 that they can provide. But then other funders, for instance, would want that you are profitable. So if you are saying going for private equity, very clear, you need to be a profit-making business. That's, so you need to be at, for instance, 20 million in revenue, profit-making, etc. But if you 20 million and above, but if you are looking for different types of funding, not every funder is looking for that. So I would say you need to have an operating history and a revenue history.
Yeah, there you go. And looking at those markets, like your Saudi, what are they looking for in those markets, would you say? And looking at SMEs over here, is there big possibilities for SMEs that part of the world?
Yes, because those markets are growing very rapidly. So they're obviously looking at different types of businesses. So the opportunities vary, everything from commodities to food to not just technology and things like that.
We had some orders from that part of the world.
Yes, they're looking for everything. I'll tell you a very funny story. I was hosting with my colleagues a delegate from Hong Kong, and the biggest ask was for chicken feet. They were like, it's a big delicacy over there. So sometimes you think that you may have something that's not relevant for that market, but it really is. So I definitely think the options vary. It's not just one specific industry that I would say they're interested in.
Yes. And also with this challenge for tariffs, I think also opens people's minds, to explore different territories. Also China, there's a lot of demand for different products from that part of the world. You are well traveled. What are some of the spaces you would say, besides just focusing local? Because I know a lot of SMEs who didn't even go searching for funding here locally. They just went abroad and they made a success of it.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting because in our accelerator program under SME Rise, that's mainly what we also focus on. We focus on how do we help companies expand into other markets. I would say the first thing is, for any entrepreneur that wants to expand, my recommendation is grow in the local market first. If you can't grow in the local market, sometimes it can be very difficult to grow in another market, because remember, growing in another market is costly and it takes time. So it's not necessarily saying that it's not a good thing to do, but it's not necessarily the right thing for everyone. And it needs to be at the right stage of your business. So even if you're looking at expansion capital and you're saying, okay, I want to expand into another market and I want expansion capital, be very sure that you have done the homework to know that it's the right market for your business, how much it's going to cost you to grow in that market. On average, unless it's B2B, so for instance, you already have a client that you can sell your product to or service to. If you're B2C, for instance, it can take up to 3 years to get a footing in a new market. And you need to be able to carry that for 3 years. So it's not necessarily that it's easy or cheap. So that's why I say it's not, get going in your local market first. And if you are looking for expansion capital and you want to have that conversation with the funders, then focus your attention on which market is viable, how much it's going to cost you, and then more importantly, how much are you going to earn out of that growth?
Yeah, good advice. And Bushman says, how will our creditor manage to protect their investment if our market floor does not have the buying power to make payment deposits? Yeah.
So I'm going to make an assumption that he's talking about credit, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. The cost of credit, that's the cost of debt. Let's call it debt. The cost of debt is more the higher your risk. So if you are less risky, you've managed your business well, because also we find interesting things in the financials. Sometimes people treat it like their personal accounts.
Yes, yeah, I've heard
If
that
you're
a lot,
if you're doing that, it means you're higher risk. So, or you haven't, been consistent, etc. So the less riskier you are, the cheaper it is to get debt. The cheaper your debt becomes, because if you're higher risk, even if you get capital, it's a little bit more expensive because they have to factor in the risk, because now they're paying for your risk. And it's the same principle as insurance. If you have 10 accidents, your insurance is going to be higher.
Yeah.
So you can't say that not people can't pay back the debt, or that debt is necessarily expensive. It's just that debt is at the cost of the risk. So that's why, again, funding readiness is so important, because then we help you to get things in order so that we can reduce your risk. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting question. Is the expansion capital only from Mukhadi? Is expansion capital only for market expansion, or also human resource expansion?
That's a very important question. So, say for instance, you need something like that. It's potentially working capital or growth capital. So I would say it depends on what you need. So does she need debt or does she need equity? If she's growing she's growing, and say for instance, she says, okay, I just secured a new contract. For this new contract, I need, I can prove that it's going to grow my business, but in order to do that, I need more capital, right? And that capital is going to help me, in terms of getting new computers, getting, to new stuff. But I can demonstrate, that's the point of growth. You can show that there is going to be tangible growth. So you can get that as either equity, or you can get it as debt. Either or, the choice, choice is yours. Or even mezzanine structure, there's different structures as well that you can get. But if you need to be able to say, if once I get this money, I will be able to grow from 2 clients to 10 clients. Then you can obviously, and I think that's really nice, because then she knows what she's going to use the money for in order to grow, which is very important.
Yeah. And it's definitely about making a strong case for your business, and convince the funders that you can take care of this money and grow this money, and your business prospects are looking good. So you demonstrate that as an entrepreneur. So the Cape Town leg of the tour is already done.
No, so we've started with Cape Town, and let me take you through a little bit more detail. So the past few years when we went into Cape Town, we did the funding readiness, and then we did the Cape Town piece as just an event. However, we realized that left out a lot of people in the Western Cape province. And with Department of Economic Development and Tourism, we decided to do a complete roadshow. So all the way, we've done the first one in June, and we're going to do another one in September, and then another one in December, and then the event will only be in February. So what is the roadshow? We basically are going to multiple towns in a week in the Western Cape, all the way from Saldanha to George, and we're visiting probably 2 towns in a day. And we're meeting with stakeholders. So those are the people such as municipalities, business chambers, business associations, incubators, development organizations, and entrepreneurs themselves. And then we're doing the roadshow to both help them in terms of their funding readiness, but also for the second and the third roadshow, we'll be bringing funders with us. So they'll have the opportunity to participate in the roadshow and get directly matched with a funder on the roadshow, and we will do digital matchmaking for them as well. So what makes Cape Town Western Cape very unique this year is that we genuinely are going different places throughout the province to make sure that no one is left behind. Because you can imagine in the past, what we've had is we would host the event in Cape Town and a company would register, but then the company says, you know what, I'm 2.5 hours away or 3 hours away, and it's so hard for me to leave my business for an entire day and travel for 3 hours. So what we now genuinely are trying to do is saying, how do we make it easier for companies to participate in different parts of the province. So companies in the Western Cape definitely can, go participate. Everybody will be there. So we're basically saying we're bringing the funders to you, to your town, for you to actually have that opportunity. And similarly, when we do the roadshows here, like you'll see on Friday in Soweto, everybody's there. So the entrepreneurs have an opportunity to ask their questions, etc. And when they participate in the bigger capital matching event, they'll meet even more funders and more partners. And it really is such a great opportunity. And I just want to take a little step back. There was recently from the SME Business Growth Index a statistic that came out that said over 51% of companies are afraid that they'll basically close in a year. That's an assessment that, from that report. But funding is one of those things that can actually help save companies as well. Right? If you inject the right type of funding at the right time, it can actually help your business scale instead of, you know what I mean? Because that little bit of capital gives you a little bit of money for additional marketing, additional resources to scale the business in the way that you need. Yes, there are other things that can really ramp up your business that you must do. You must do sales, you must have good products and good service. But capital is just one of those key triggers for growth. And not just growth in terms of the business, but what we also see from this as a big measurement for us is job creation. We see significant job creation every time a business has a capital injection.
So 40% of the GDP is SMEs.
Yes. And so one company, sometimes we think, if an SME closes, it's just the founder. No, it's the founder and all the people that person supports and hires. And not just that, all the people that company does business with, right? So there's such a domino effect on not just one business. Sometimes it impacts 10 businesses, when one business closes. So we want to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that business doesn't close.
Yeah. And talking about saving companies, I know Elon Musk says there's times he got funding on the last day when he was closing down. Entrepreneurs be encouraged. And Chivumo says purpose-driven provider of clean energy for commerce and industry, looking for aligned investors to scale impact and jobs. So appreciate the platform. So he's just putting that out there. He's in the purpose-driven provider of clean energy for commerce.
That is amazing. And I would say to him, be very encouraged, because impact investing is so important. When we talk about ESG, which is environmental, social governance, but impact and sustainability in general, a lot of South African businesses don't actually realize that most of us are impact businesses. We have impact businesses because everything we do makes an impact. We're solving real problems. And, we can measure, whether it's in the government space or social or labor, etc. We have genuine impact. And there's a lot of businesses that actually, and there's a lot of capital for impact business. So especially if you've got a business in renewable or green, there's always a lot of capital and funders that want to fund that. Yeah.
There's definitely a lot. Yes, I've seen that. And the other businesses maybe who haven't gotten that funding, is there renewed support somehow and some kind of access from JSE for them going forward?
What's been interesting is that what we saw is that companies that perhaps registered last year but they weren't ready, they went through the training and they're like, hey, I'm not ready yet. What we saw, or the year before, is that we saw they came back last year and they said, well, now I'm ready, because now I knew what was required. So I just had to get my stuff in place.
Work on it.
Yes. And then they got funding very quickly. So sometimes it's just about going through the process, at least because by the time you need funding, if you're only learning then and you're only starting to get things ready then, guess what? Then it's going to take you a year to get funding. I remember speaking to a lady who was looking for funding and she thought, okay, she applied different places. Eventually she got funding from, I think it was the SAB Foundation, but it took a year and a half to get funding ready because she never had anything in place. So start now. Even if you started your business yesterday, start going through the training now so that you know what is required from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's very important to engage the process, and educate yourself, because sometimes you just don't know, and you need that exposure. Also, just again, some of the people that are coming through Friday, you said Vodacom.
Yes, Vodacom, Access Bank. So let's talk about Friday a little bit. Um, we've partnered with this amazing company called Boundless Group. They
Yes, they are amazing. Yes.
yes, with Sipho Klassen and his
Yeah.
team. So they do education, for disabled people, for
And they
people.
just opened in Soweto, yeah,
Yes,
the
and
last couple of
it's
months.
such an amazing story. So they have a campus in Sandton, and what they've seen is that a lot of people have to travel very far. So for women, youth, etc., I had to travel very far. And then what they did is they converted an abandoned school into a campus. So they spent,
Yeah.
I think, about 5 million rand converting that school. How amazing is that? It's a
Yeah.
wonderful story. Not only that, the people that they worked with to convert the school were the local community members who converted that school. So I think just in terms of the work that they're doing, when they reached out and we engaged, the reason why for me it was a no-brainer, just to, I acted very fast to say, let's partner, let's do something, is because they are doing phenomenal work. And this is a great opportunity for all of us to really help the community even further, especially the entrepreneurs, to get access to real funding opportunities. But if you go to the school, I mean, it is amazing. It's a campus. It is beautiful.
I meant
It's
to go to the opening.
You
so-
have to go. It's beautiful. It's well run. So Friday is going to be a lot of businesses are going to be there. We're going to be there, and we're starting in the morning from about 9 a.m. And we won't go, it's not like till late afternoon. We end in the afternoon, but we'll have a few conversations. But mainly what we want is for entrepreneurs to have the opportunity to be part of the process. We want entrepreneurs to have the opportunity to connect with the right people, and more importantly, for them to have the opportunity to eventually get funding.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the companies, not necessarily from this run, but some of the companies after they get funding and then they run through a lot of trouble with the team? Is there some of those things that happen?
So that does sometimes happen to any. It can happen to any company. I think what we try and instill in the companies is be very clear what you're going to do with the capital. Because remember, you don't want lazy capital in your business. If you have lazy capital, it means you don't know what to do and the money's not working. Because remember, money is a tool and money's meant to work. So the moment you get capital, the point is, and this is something that we do in the funding readiness, to say, how do you optimize the capital to help your business to scale? So, and also if you got capital, you didn't make it work, you didn't grow from it, nothing happened, no one's going to fund you after that, because they're going to be like, but you got capital, you didn't do anything with it, right? So the point of any capital coming to the business is mainly, yes, you can solve certain things, but mainly to say, how does it help me? And I think that's a big question any business must ask themselves is, how will this help me to grow my business to the next stage? Because that is the point. It's an injection. So think of it as like, a shot of a Red Bull or something, right? Yes, that's the point. And I think that's essentially what you want, is you want something and someone to actually come on board and say, I will partner with you, I'll support you, here's the capital. And what's also amazing about a lot of the funders that I want to mention is that they don't just provide funding. Majority of the funders that come on board provide support.
Yeah.
They provide, I know, for instance, Business Partners provides technical support. I know that Equate provides accounting services and support. I know that, Oldvest also provides other type of support. SETFA especially provides a lot of support. NEF as well, a lot of post-investment support. So they don't just provide capital, they actually help your businesses. They hold your hand, they partner with you because they want to see you succeed. And it's yes, they want to see you succeed. It's not just about, I want my money back. No, it's your success is my success, because it's a partnership. They don't just see it as a once-off funding. They see it as how can we help your business grow and scale? Because if you grow, we grow as well. So yes, absolutely.
Yes, and let's talk to also mentorship, Cleola. I know you also mentor some business people. How important is it for entrepreneurs to have mentors and also develop that support structure? Because most of the time you find the entrepreneur is just by himself, especially starting up.
So an interesting study was done by UCT quite a few years ago, and it said that majority of businesses succeed or fail because of the entrepreneur themselves. So the first thing is the reason why it's important for an entrepreneur and even the founding team or the management team to have mentorship and development support is because the success or the failure of the business depends on them first. Yeah. Their mindset, their thinking, their knowledge. Secondly, their networks. If you don't have networks, you can't open a lot of doors. You can't collaborate. You can't, you need a lot of partnership and collaboration.
Yeah.
You can't do everything yourself. There is no such thing. You can't know everything yourself.
Yeah, definitely emphasis on that. Yeah.
Exactly. And also partnership and collaboration with other entrepreneurs, right? I may be good at this. You may be good at marketing. You need that.
And that's what you get going out there. Just to meet funders, also your fellow entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yes, and I think the other part is that it's a lonely journey. It's very lonely. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I can tell you it's very hard and it's very lonely. So if you don't,
times you're the only one who believes, and people around think you're crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't know where you're gonna turn to. You don't know who's gonna support you. If you build a network and if you have mentorship and support, and I mean this is something we do very well in the SME Rise program, is we provide mentorship and support, is that you make the journey so much harder if you don't have it. And if you do have it, it fast tracks things so well, especially if you take it on. Sometimes people tell, I'm too busy to meet with a mentor. That means you're too busy for your own growth. So mentorship development is so critical, and we're so blessed in South Africa that we have so many amazing programs and so much support, because those are the things that actually help propel our growth in interesting ways. You meet someone that's not just going to help mentor you. Sometimes they open doors for you. They open so much. So it is absolutely critical. And I would encourage any entrepreneur to have advisors, to have mentors, to participate in programs, and especially to network and have peers that are in similar industries or even competing industries, or, what I mean? Because you need to learn and you need to grow, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, and that reminds me also partnerships, because sometimes, an entrepreneur, you have this business, you don't want to partner, you don't want to bring anybody in because you're trying to protect, but that 100% or something that is not worth anything is still not business sense. So sometimes entrepreneurs, especially in the creative space, you're scared to share your idea because people might run away with the idea and so forth. But those partnerships you speak of also is very important to push you to the next level. So it's always about, going back and looking at the strategy that you are using. You might have to adjust that. Yeah. Partnerships, or what has been your experience? Yeah.
So we do know that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle to bring on especially equity investors and shareholders and other partners. If you think you know everything or you just want to do everything yourself, remember that limits your business. Because yes, you might hold on, but also it's not just about sharing in terms of the equity. It's also about, if it's only you and your ideas, you're limiting it to you and your ideas. But if you bring on partners, it means you're opening it up to their ideas, their networks, and their opportunities. And that's why even if you're looking at an equity investor, you need to look at an equity investor that you can partner with. You know what I mean? In terms of how can you really partner? Not just I want the capital. The money can only take you so far. Without real partnership, you're never going to really grow. And we see that. We see companies that actually are not willing to bring in other people. They don't scale. They stay a specific size. they're unable to break through and grow. So yes, it's very important if you really want to grow and become a large business one day. The key to doing that is collaboration and partnership, and especially bringing on the right type of equity investors.
Yeah, and what would you say is also key to building a strong team? I know you mentioned also you are looking at what is your skill sets and what is the value that somebody else is bringing, because sometimes this person that you need is demanding so much of the business, and then people would rather say, okay, no, it's fine, I'll just self-develop.
I think, I would look at alignment. We encourage entrepreneurs, especially when we do even the funding readiness and we talk about the different investment types, is you have to look at what is their mandate, what is their strategy. Not every type of funder is for you, right? For your business. If there's a funder that's funding specifically in the mining space, for instance, why would you go to a funder that's funding technology, right? There has to be strategic alignment and mandate alignment, because they potentially know what's best. Even if it's debt or equity, they know what's happening in that industry. They can help unlock opportunities. They can help guide you strategically. They can help guide the operations for your business, and even help just mature your management team, right? So there has to be strategic alignment first, and then the rest is easy and it kind of follows from there.
Yeah. I think also just to add, because sometimes, as an entrepreneur, it's easy to get discouraged because you are getting a lot of rejections, but take it as a learning curve. Take it as a learning curve. You always need to educate yourself. You see, you always need to grow. And there's a time when you will run through the nose and get to the yeses.
Yes.
So yeah, don't be discouraged. It's not because your idea is wrong. It's not because your idea is wrong, but there might just be like some ground you need to cover. And most of the times, like I was saying earlier, investors want to see a demonstration of like they need to buy into this concept. You know it in your head that this business is the one, but now you need to articulate it to somebody else to understand what you are talking about and what you have built. So sometimes that like learning the language, like you said earlier, and how to express that business and the value proposition and the strong points of that business. So you need to also work on that pitch and building a case for your business, looking at the ecosystem and where your business fits in. So we have also Man Tabiso. Yes, please share links to Capital Match registration website. Also, how do we enroll in the funding readiness training?
So absolutely. Everything is on the JSE website. Just search for capital matching. If you search JSE capital matching, then there's a link and you can basically go through the registration process, and then we'll take it from there. We'll activate then your account for you to get access to the funding readiness training. And I just want to touch a little bit, on the types of training you'll see. So the first part of the training that we cover is the funding landscape, to give you a good picture of the different types of funding solutions. Then we go into strategy. And again, we know that people have their business plans and they have their strategy, but it's so important when we talk about funding, what funders want to see in a strategy is when you say in terms of your pitch, okay, I'm going to grow, by 100 clients, that would have to reflect in your strategy. So we talk about strategy in relation to the funding and strategy in relation to your growth, right? Then we go into sales and marketing. Again, the market assessment, the cost of marketing. And again, say for instance, let's take an argument's sake. You're saying, or an example, you're saying that I need capital to open up a new shop, right? You would have to then demonstrate one, when you open up the shop, how much money you need to open up the shop. At which point will you be able to pay off the shop? Not just that, think about what would you need to sell, how much would you need to sell, at which price for you to be able to make that money back, and at which point. So if I say, look, I just need money to buy more stock, right? How much I want to buy 1,000 units, at what price am I selling it for me to make that money back? And how much is it costing to market to those clients? Even if I say, oh, I need marketing money, you need to start thinking about how much is marketing actually costing me for me to make that money back. So when we talk about these things, it's also for, even though you don't have to present everything to a funder, it's also to help you start thinking about the details of your business. How much is it actually costing you? And at which point do you make your money back, whether you're in services, whether you're in products, whatever it is. So those types of things, even the terminology that you start thinking about, the types of ratios that are relevant to you. And then also we talk about the financials, and that's a very important part. What's so nice about the funding readiness training, even when we go into the financials or even the pitch deck, is that we give you the tools, we give you the spreadsheets, we give you, we give you the templates. So we're making it so easy for you. All you have to do is then just populate it. So it's there and it's free. So it's so easy. So we would encourage entrepreneurs to participate. The other thing that we cover, which I think is so important, is legal. So we realize and recognize that a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, are not doing the right things in terms of their legals. Sometimes they have clients, they don't have contracts in place, right? A fund is going to ask, where's the contract? You need to have, but also it's important for you. And then just in terms of other things, even in your own business, what are some of the contracts that you need to have in place? I think that's very important. And then we talk about some of the legal requirements, even in terms of taking anything on, there's always liability. So it's important that you understand, what are you actually agreeing to? What are you liable for? There is no such thing. I don't care, even if it's grant money, even if it's ESD money, there is no such thing as free money. There's always accountability, and that's what we mean. You're always accountable. You can't take money and then go buy a Mercedes-Benz tomorrow. We see you, but none of that has gone into your business, right? So it's very important that you also understand that. And then, of course, the most important part is the pitch deck, that we help companies in terms of their pitches, and we help them understand how to do their pitch deck. We give them the pitch deck template. And then when we do after that, so you've done now the online classes, when we do the master classes, again, we go through all those topics live. And those are in the evening to make it easy for everybody to attend. So it's not disrupting your business in the daytime, right? So you can come and attend. We sometimes have the funders there. We have different experts there. And then you can ask your questions. You can go through everything. And we really try and make sure that we equip the businesses and get them as ready as possible. Because by the time, let's call it match day happens, you know what you're in for. You know what you don't know. You know your business, and you know that you've answered everything.
Yes. Okay. Last two questions. What is the typical time from application to capital match, and what must be in the data room on day one? And then Keleto says, last question, did you mention that investors don't cover funding for product development on MVP on the part of an IP? I understand as a trademark or patent can be registered with CIPC.
Let's tackle the first one first. There are some funders that do tackle that and do help with funding for that, but it depends on what it is. Remember, there's not that much funders that play in that space for ideation or, IP, but yes, there are some funders that do. So definitely there are funders. There's also funders that even help you with feasibility funding, to do your feasibility studies. So all of that type of funding does exist. And then there is, in terms of even trademark, whether you need certain things, especially depending on what the trademark is, you may get technical, they call it technical assistance for that. So that type of services do exist. But I think if you are definitely commercializing IP, it is important that you speak to organizations that specialize in that. right? Not everyone specializes in that. Commercialization of IP is not an easy process. It can take years, right? So I think it is important that you do it with the right people who've done that before and they know how to do that. In terms of the process for capital matching, register today. Because the sooner you register, the sooner, you know what I mean, you can get ready, you can go through the training, and then we can help you in terms of the process. As we said, the events are happening in November. So by then we would want you to be funding ready and, you know, be able to match you with funders.
Yes. Thank you so much, Cleola. And guys, the registration link will be shared at the end of this session. Any last words you want to share?
Well, I just want to say to the entrepreneurs, you know, it really is an opportunity for you and your business. So register, participate, and, you know, come and join us for the capital matching.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. We'll see you at the sessions and we'll see you in Soweto Friday.
Thank you.
Yes.